All right, got home from work today and there was a box here from Welter's, so I'm going to double up my exhaust manifold gaskets on this 950 propane because the exhaust manifold is, there's just I can't plane it down any further. It's not much left, so I'm just gonna have to go with that and with high temp RTV. But they have a more fibrous gasket, and then they have the metal one. So they said the key is to put the fiber against the head, the metal against the manifold, because the manifold will expand and contract more, and the metal gasket will let that slide on it better than the fiber. So that's what we're gonna do. So right now I'm screwing my studs into the heads, and then I need to check clearances. I might have to cut a couple of them down a little bit shorter. So I'm working on that right now, and we'll see if we can get this manifold on there tonight. So it's got a few days to dry before the weekend, and then we can do the exhaust. You know, I painted the mufflers yesterday. We can see if the new old stock sounds better than the Stanley, which I think we all know the answer to that. So here we go, we're back out in the barn. It's a little chilly tonight. So I've got my studs back on here. I put them all in. So the problem I had when I took it off is these were really rusted. So you can see the clearances I have here between the end ones are really close. So I thought about the ones I took out were 3 inches long. These are 4. If I put it in like this, I'm not going to be able to get I might have to use a box end wrench to take these off. There's no way you get a socket in there. Even if I take an inch off, I don't know that I could. So I think I can just leave these this length and just tighten them up using an open end wrench. It's not perfect, but I just don't know how else to. I mean, I can cut them down, but I don't know that I need to cut them down. So I'm gonna play with this a minute and make a decision. All right, got all the gaskets on, doubled up with the former gasket on there. This one I forgot, and I'd already put the studs in. I had to pull them back out because with the regulator here, you got to pull the studs out and then put them in through the gasket, and the heat shield, so I had to redo that. Felt kind of dumb for doing that, and then I put some more form of gasket on the exhaust manifold just to make sure that seals up. So you got to put the intake on first and screw it back here. Still got a good gasket here, and then I'm gonna put the exhaust manifold on and then start tightening things down. All right, I got it set back on there. The one thing you want to make sure that you do is you want to have those locks in there that direction and not up and down, because they don't like to spin, and I just fought with those to get everything lined up the way it is. So now I need to tighten everything up, and I'll start with the outsides, then the insides, and then I'll work my way through to try to tighten everything up evenly. All right, so I've got everything back together, everything torqued down. I had to replace this rubber hose here. That one, the old one, was in there, and it was hard as a rock. And then had to do the same at the top, and then the other hose that went between the two valve covers there, the breathers. So new hose on those, new clamps, and yeah, so now it can sit for a few days. Hopefully I got it sealed up good, and I'll let all that RTV cure, and then hopefully this weekend we'll start it up. Listen to the mufflers over there on here and check them out. Give me some time the rest of this week to take the other half of the hood off and find out where my leak down there is coming from on the hydraulic that seems to be getting worse. And so yeah, I'll film all this the rest of this week. All right, so I got the new old stock muffler on, and last night I came out and I didn't have a lot of time, but I thought, what the heck, sorry about moving the camera around. I was sliding the glove back on because it's cold. But I fired it up, no manifold leak, and that muffler sounds really nice. Now, I know I want to do a comparison between it and the Stanley that's still over there, but one thing I noticed when it was running last night without the valve, or I'm sorry, without the manifold leaking, is I can actually hear the valves, and the valves are clicking pretty good. So I think I need to adjust the valves while I've got it at this stage. Who knows when the last time that happened. So I'm going to tonight try to get my valve covers off and get through there and see how much I can, what I can figure out on this thing. So that's the goal. I can get them adjusted, and then we'll see. I probably am going to need valve cover gaskets, so I'm going to have to order those, which means that I probably won't be able to do much with this weekend, but we'll see how it goes. All right, got the valve covers off. Not a problem. The gaskets aren't in bad shape, but I'm probably going to order new ones. I got the book out, and it says to adjust the intake to 0.012 and the exhaust to 0.022 on non-diesel models, which is what we have. And then it refers you to figure 22, which is saying to get it to top dead center and on the compression stroke, and then adjust 6 of the all right, stupid GoPro battery died. But anyway, you adjust the 6 valves, and then you take the number 6 piston, get it to top dead center on the compression, and you come back and you adjust the other 6. So that's what I just did, and what I found was all these were super tight. I had only one valve I didn't have to adjust, and this exhaust valve had, like, you could have fit a huge feeler gauge, and they had a lot of gap. So I went through, adjusted them, checked them again, and last night when I had this started, there was definitely a lot of valve noise right here in the middle, which I'm going to guess is that exhaust valve. I mean, it was somebody, I've sent that to Joe Pro and Oliver Phil, and one of them said, hey, is the exhaust manifold still leaking? Because it had that much of a tick to it. So I'm going to start it, and let's see how it sounds. All right, up here in the seat, I got the gas on. Let's give it just a little bit of fuel. Ooh, that new old stock muffler does sound nice. Quieter. Sounds a lot better. That valve must have really, it was ticking pretty good last night. Sounds pretty good. I'm getting good oil flow. Yep, I'm pretty happy with that. So, mission accomplished tonight. Definitely much quieter. Okay, and you know, the exhaust sounds good. It's smoking a little. It does that just when it's warming up. It's probably the propane, and then, but it sounds pretty nice. We'll do the sound comparison here soon between the new old stock and the Stanley. Well, it's Saturday, and it's turned into winter. It's like 19 degrees out. It's blowing like crazy. It's snowing just a little bit. So before I fire up the heaters, I figure I would do my sound comparison between the new old stock that's on there right now and the Stanley, which is over there. And then I will, I'm going to fire up the heaters and let them heat up the area that I'm going to be working in, and I'm going to work on the wiring on this today. Joe Pro was sending me a new light switch, and I think I'm going to do a little bit different wiring on my switches. They put 2 push-pull switches on this thing. Probably one pole was the lights, and the other pole was the flashers. You can kind of see there, the closest one doesn't have a knob on it, and the other one. But anyway, I might do the combination switch for low headlights, high headlights, and then field lights, and then do a separate push-pull for just the warning lights in the back. It's kind of what I'm thinking. That way I don't have to have the headlights on with the warning lights on. Just an idea I've got, but I'm going to, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to let this thing warm up a lot when I fire it up, because then it's going to be too hot to take the muffler off, but and then compare it to the Stanley. But I'm going to get it set up, and then we'll see how it sounds. All right, just fired it up. This is the new old stock. All right, so the way the new old stock one sounds to me, like it's got a nice deep sound to it. Sounds just, I don't know if solid is the way. It's just got, it doesn't sound tinty at all. It's just sounds like a big old propane tractor running. So got the Stanley on now, and we'll give it a listen. Doesn't sound terrible. It's smoking so much just because it's so cold, and it's just, that's condensation. But anyway, it is definitely a louder muffler. Not much, like I said. I'm gonna hop down here. Sound good. I got the valve covers back on. They've quieted down quite a bit from the way they were, and no exhaust manifold leak. So that's where we're at. It's not a great comparison. I don't have anything here to sound meter, but I would say that the new old stock has a deeper sound to it. It's just more solid. I don't even know how to describe it. The Stanley's not bad though, but it is just slightly louder. So there you go. What I'm going to work on now, I'm going to get the heat fired up, and I'm going to start working on my wiring on this. So and I'm gonna get some heat going because it's cold. Okay. All right, it took me a while to decide exactly how I wanted to do this, but I'm gonna do it the way I do it when I completely restore a tractor. So the original lights, when they went in there, they just had a hot coming out of it, and then the ground was where it bolted to the tractor. But as you can see, the rust there, and it's been my experience that you can't always count on that ground. So what I do is I take the light apart, put a positive and a negative out. The wiring was such a mess in the fenders here. What I've done is in this channel here is where the wires run down. They come out down here at the bottom. So I just ran a hot and cold on the front one, and then for the warning light back here, I just took the warning light off. But the harness is here to go back down, and I'm going to pull just a hot and cold. So this has got 3 here. So it had 1 for the warning light, and then it had 2, and these might have gone back forward originally, because this looks like the original wiring harness to the front 2 lights. But I'm just going to run a hot and cold to run the warning light on. On the other side, I'll run let's see how I'm going to do that. 2 hots and 1 cold. So 1 hot will go to the rear work light, 1 will go to the flasher above it, and then the front I'll run a hot and cold, and then I'll tie everything down in there and ground everything so I have a good ground that I can get to. And that's the way I'm going to do these. So I'm going to pull this, pull a hot and a cold down through this right here, this part of the fender, and then I can put my connections on everything and tie everything back together except the rear warning light. I got to get a new, this one's seen better days, and then I'll move to the other side and do it, and then I can then decide how I'm going to run. There is existing wire harness down underneath the platform here if I'm going to tie into it to go back up to the switches, but I'm going to have to trace down colors of wires to the switches. But figured I'd start out in the fenders and make sure that everything's good. I'm checking the lights before I start messing with them to make sure they actually work. And then so I'll have all this good down to there, and then all I have to do is worry about my wiring on up back up to the light switch, which is not that big of a deal. I did discover that my fuse holder up there is bad, so I'm gonna have to get one of those either later today or tomorrow. And yeah, so I'm gonna put this, fish that through, put this side back together, and then I'll show you on the other side when I take one of those lights apart what I do inside of there. All right, so I'm going to start feeding it down. I just kind of coil the wires around each other, and I put a little tape on them. I go from the top to the bottom to kind of use gravity to help. Kind of grab at the bottom and give it a little bit of a slight tug, but not, just very carefully do this so I don't have a part where the wires hang up, and then I pull the tape off, and then I'm in a mess. And make sure I got enough slack here, at least to get it started. That noise is the wind. It is windy and nasty, and I'm glad I'm not outside doing this. Joe Pro and I talked earlier. His 950 sitting outside, and he said, I'm not working on that today, and I made fun of him. Like, come on, man, can't be a chicken. But I don't think I used the word chicken, but you get what I mean. I made fun of him, and he told me that he's more than happy to have me come up and help him if I wanted to drive on up. He'd work outside with me today. I told him I'd be up in a little bit. All right, so I got it down through the bottom, and so I'll give myself plenty of slack there. I'll cut my wires up here, and then start putting my lights back in, and then move to the other side. I almost forgot to film this part. So basically what I do is just use a screwdriver, pull the headlight out of the the housing. On all these, I've had to run a drill bit through here because there's been rust and mud daubers are all over this thing. It's crazy, but the original ground goes from here and then it connects inside the housing there. I cut that and then cut my positive and negative so that they will be long enough to fit through that hole, and then basically stuff them down in there. Pull them out, get this, and then there's a G at the top, and that kind of lines up with the little triangle emblem there. There's a G, so you want the two G's to line up. I just get them kind of get it kind of started on the bottom. Use a screwdriver and pop it back in. Headlight done. I'll strip these ends now. I need to clean up the threads on here. I should have done that while these wires weren't on it, but I'll clean those up so everything will back together better, and then put it back on the tractor. All right, I got all the headlights back in, redone, back in, wired up. The rear light is in, the red light inside the rear light works. I've been here messing with, so they had two push-pull switches. I just had to basically break that one apart to get it out because it was so rusty. And the other one, so then the big question, so my wiring harnesses down at either fender are still there. So I'm gonna try to tap into those, and you can still see the colors. And I was a little concerned up here until I peeled back some of this electric tape. And if you can see there, I can see colors, so that's good, because I know purple is the warning lights, I know yellow is the red light in the rear, green is the headlights, and blue is the rear working light. Is that, did I already say that? Yellow. Blue, yellow are the rear working light. The yellow is the red light in it. Green is the headlights. Purple is the warning lights. So, I was hoping my switch would be here today, but it's not. So I'm gonna have to wait till tomorrow or next week to do that. But I think that I can get the warning lights hooked up on the switch today. And what they did is they put that push-pull switch in where the lighter would have gone. But I'm not gonna use a lighter. Not so into smoking anymore, ever. So I think I can put it in there. And then, so I'll have my push-pull for warning lights, and then I'll do my regular multi-position switch over here for high-low headlights, and rear working light. And I'm going to tie the red light in the rear working light into the warning light. So when the warning lights are flashing, that red light in the rear working light will flash also. Because I don't know that there's any other time that I will, maybe, no, I'm gonna do that. So I'm not an electrician, I'm not a mechanic, but I'm trying to make all this work. So that's what's, I just wanted to update you guys where I was at. You can see the nice mess, but it's not horrible because a lot of the original wiring's still there, which is a very big plus for me. All right, well, it's 4:30. Happens to be a football game on that my wife is very interested in, so I should probably be a good husband and go console her, because I'm sure her team is not going to win. It'd be a team from Cleveland, Ohio. But they've surprised us all season. So, got the hood back on, put the Stanley back on, and I think I'm just going to run the Stanley on it. It sounded all right. I'm going to save the new old stock one for the A4T when I get it, the motor swapped in it. I got a new clamp for around the bottom, and rain cap I'm gonna have to get painted here, but I'm waiting on the second rain cap to come, and I'll just do them both at the same time. So for today and I need some parts tomorrow. I actually need to make a list or I'm gonna forget. So that's where I'm at for today. I'm going to go in and see what happens in this football game. It is Sunday afternoon, busy day. Went to the local, our local school district's called Buckeye Valley, and they had their FFA fundraiser toy show today. So I stopped there and I did buy a small 1/64 A4T 1600 in yellow, and then I also got from Alex, one of my buddies, it's an Oliver. It's from 1989 Louisville Toy Show, painted yellow Moline, but it's an Oliver Polar. It's kind of a different thing. Maybe if I think about it, I'll video it. But anyway, came home. Oliver Phil came over, met him at the toy show. We put the rest of the Kohler together. I have primer on it right now. I have the heater on it. Gonna give it a while here, and then I'll start putting some coats of high temp paint on it. And then I've been continuing working on my light project here. So went to TSC this morning. I needed an inline fuse holder or a dash mount similar to this. Guess what TSC didn't have, so I got to work on getting one of those. Gonna kind of trace down. So right now I'm not getting purple. Went to the, and that's what this is up underneath there. Purple wasn't getting power back to the warning lights. So I could, between here and the dash, I'm not getting power up at the dash if I put power down here. So I don't know if there's a break in the wiring harness between those two spots. So I'm going to do some more testing today. I'm just going to go do some more cleanup on what I've accomplished already in anticipation of the light switch getting here this week, that I can put in the combination light switch, and then I'm going to work on putting in the push-pull switch for the flashing lights. Joe Pro sent me the light switch from his dealership. Basically came out of Ashland, Ohio, and it went to Mansfield, which is basically right next door. And from Mansfield it went the wrong way towards Akron, an hour. So it should have been here yesterday, but instead it's going to be here Tuesday. Makes sense. So I'm going to keep plugging away trying to figure out my wiring here, and I'm going to, after the motor gets a little bit to dry, I'm going to gonna get some coats on it. Need to throw something over top of that, fresh paint, well, fresher paint on that garden tractor, just so there's no overspray blows back this way, although I doubt that it will. And yeah, that's going to be kind of the rest of my Sunday here. My wife's team ended up losing last night pretty decisively. She's decided she is a Texan fan the rest of this way out because the quarterback did play for The Ohio State University. And other than that, I did have a guy stop and pick up a bunch. I had a bunch of parts left over when I bought this 114 and all the other lawn tractors I bought. And guy stopped over from Indiana today, and he picked all that stuff up. Another Moline enthusiast. So glad he was able to come, he and his son, and pick that stuff up. Got that out of the way, and yeah, so that's been my day so far. Just kind of all over. I helped Oliverville upload some shorts on. He's going to be starting a channel here, and that'll be a good channel to watch. But it'll be a lot of Oliver stuff, but he works on everything. He works on a lot of stuff, but his shorts they're working on a 3-speed out of an Oliver, which would be very similar to the 3-speed that's in the 955. So been encouraging him to start that. His wife has been encouraging, because he's a really good methodical mechanic. I am not a mechanic. I think I've said that. He's a true mechanic. So if you want to look at some shorts as an example of what his channel is going to look like, those are going to be coming up. And yeah, I'm going to keep plugging away at stuff, and I'll update you here in a little bit. All right, so I stripped away the wiring on that purple wire up here, and I was able to get power down to where the plug is down there. So that's good. I cleaned it up. I got my switch in. I'm putting in new power to that switch. then it comes out of there into the flasher, and then out of the flasher it'll go back to where the flashers will be on the rear fenders. Got that done. There's really not a whole lot more I can do until I get one of these fuse holders and my light switch. That is an Akron, which makes 0 sense, but FedEx knows more than I do. And yeah, so I just put the second coat of paint on the motor, which should be about it. I got the heat on it so that it can dry here and cure some. And I think it's looking pretty good. I think it's gonna look pretty good once I put it in that yellow frame. So for today, for this weekend, for this project, I think this probably isn't the most exciting video I've made in a while. A lot of wiring, a lot of little things, but yeah, that's we'll call this one good, and then next weekend we'll continue working on this stuff. Again, thanks for watching and liking and subscribing, and you know, I appreciate comments, appreciate all my viewers. We're all, hopefully you're having fun watching me out here doing this, and learning something along the way, and I know I'm learning from people all the time. So until next weekend. And as I mentioned, here are my tractor purchases for the day. This is some kind of an all-over, I'm going to guess an 18-19 series or whatever, but it says Louisville, February 15th through 18th, 1989. It's got the MM on the front. It's got big rubber on the back because it was set up, I guess, and sold as a... All right, battery died again. But anyway, that is that one. And then I got the little A4T 1600. Nick Ohio MM will like this one. It's got some good details, like a 3-point hitch on it. But I didn't have a yellow one, so there was a 1/16 scale A4T there, new. It looks like it had never been sold, but he wanted a whole lot of money for it, so I passed because he wanted more for it than I have in some of my tractors. So anyway, as promised, purchases for the day. Till the next video.